Welcome to my channel. Today we're going to do something different. We're going to take a food trip. And not just any food trip, but one that centers around a grain, one of the world's most important crops, rice. As we'll see, rice is steeped in myth and divine origin stories across many cultures: China, Southeast Asia, and the Philippines, where rice is often attributed to deities or mythical animals gifting it to humanity. In one Chinese tale, the rice goddess was so distraught at having to leave her heavenly home that she poured her milk and blood into the rice stalks, imbuing them with life. In the Philippines, there are several versions of how rice came to be. One tells the story of two hunters who stumbled upon a magical seed and shared it with people. Another says that the god Bathala handed down rice seed to humans. But this isn't just a mythology series. This is also a history series. So let us talk about how rice got from those early domestication days to becoming one of the world's most important food crops. It's a long story. In fact, some say it started 13,000 years ago in what's now Thailand and then spread out from there. Others point to a spot in what is now China as Yunnan province as the place where it all began. But everyone seems to agree it was here in Asia where rice was first domesticated. It's estimated that between 8,000 and 12,000 years ago, people began cultivating plants by wild river banks, taking the seeds that were naturally larger and more nutritious than their wild counterparts, planting them and then harvesting them to eat. Some call this the agricultural Big Bang. From here, rice spread out across Asia, arriving in India around 6,000 years ago, in the Yangtze River Valley in China around 5,000 years ago, and in the Philippines around 3,000 years ago. Early rice cultivation coincided with the rise of civilizations. Many ancient cities owe their existence to rice. In China, the first great city, Jiahu, dates back around 7,000 years. It was built on the banks of the river Yangtze, which provided fertile ground for growing rice. Further south, along the Mekong River in what's now Thailand and Vietnam, the first settlements also arose, each step building on the innovations of the last. Over time, rice paddies became larger, irrigation systems more sophisticated, and communities grew into cities. They flourished because they had such an abundant food source right in their backyards. From these humble beginnings, rice went on to play a huge role in the creation of empires and powerful dynasties. Around 2000 BC, the ancient Egyptians, who lived along the fertile banks of the river Nile, invented new tools like the plow and sickle that improved the efficiency of planting and harvesting rice. By 1000 BC, rice cultivation had reached India. As the Indian subcontinent warmed up, rice replaced wheat as the primary grain. During the Vedic period, when Hinduism began to take shape, rice was considered sacred. It was an offering to the gods, a gift for guests, and even used as a symbol of prosperity and fertility. Rice's popularity spread from here to other parts of Asia. In Southeast Asia, the Khmer people built the magnificent temples of Angkor in the 12th century. Rice fueled their empire. Its cultivation created a surplus of food, which meant a population boom, which led to greater wealth and cultural innovation. Further east, the Japanese archipelago was dotted with rice farmers tending to their crops. By the 14th century, rice cultivation had reached Korea. Rice quickly became the country's favorite grain, overtaking millet, barley, and wheat. It continues to hold that title today. The spread of rice cultivation had a profound impact on the course of human history. It influenced trade routes, connecting distant lands through the exchange of this valuable commodity. Rice became so important that entire dynasties rose and fell based on its cultivation and control. During the Song dynasty in China, which lasted from 960 to 1279 AD, the invention of new farming technologies like the chams, a type of water-powered mechanical reaper, led to unprecedented increases in rice production. This agricultural revolution led to the urbanization of China, a booming population, and an era of cultural and economic prosperity. Across Asia, rice was more than just a food source. It became a symbol of life, culture, and identity. It played a central role in religious ceremonies, traditional festivals, and everyday meals. Each region developed its own unique rice-based cuisine, reflecting local flavors, cooking techniques, and cultural preferences. Rice is so embedded in Asian culture that even music is tied to it. Harvest festivals feature traditional songs and dances celebrating the season and giving thanks for the year's bounty. Ceremonial uses of rice are an integral part of many religions and spiritual practices. Rice is used as an offering to gods and ancestors, and even in purification rituals. And sometimes rice has been tied to revolt. There were even what some called rice rebellions in China during times of famine and unrest. Peasants who depended on rice for their survival took up arms against oppressive regimes in hopes of gaining control of this essential resource. In China, there's a saying, "The one who controls the grain controls the people." Rice was so fundamental to daily life that whoever had control over its supply held immense power over the populace. During times of scarcity, people were willing to go to great lengths to obtain this precious commodity. The allure of rice even extended beyond Asia. European colonizers discovered rice in the 16th century and were intrigued by its potential. They realized that rice could thrive in certain parts of their colonies, and saw an opportunity to boost their economies. One of the most famous rice-related journeys happened in the 16th century, when Portuguese missionaries traveling to India encountered Jesuit priests who had already figured out that African slaves would grow rice in the backwater regions of Sri Lanka. They decided to replicate this model in Africa. Rice was brought to Angola in 1576, Madagascar in 1580, and Brazil in 1585, all places where enslaved Africans were already toiling on plantations. Enslaved people brought rice seeds and knowledge of cultivation techniques from Africa and Asia and adapted them to the New World. Enslaved people in the American South did the same thing in the 1700s wherever they went. They brought rice with them. Today, rice remains one of the world's most important food crops. It feeds billions of people across continents and cultures. Of course, you can buy rice in supermarkets anywhere in the world. It's pretty easy to find. But if you want to understand rice, you really need to come to Asia, the place where it was first cultivated thousands of years ago. For this episode of Food Trip, I traveled to Thailand and Vietnam. I toured lush paddy fields, learned about traditional farming methods, sampled delicious local rice dishes, and saw firsthand how rice still forms the backbone of diets and economies. The journey was not only educational, but also inspiring, seeing how rice has evolved and thrived in different environments, while staying true to its essence, gave me a deep appreciation for its resilience and adaptability. In Ubon Ratchathani, Thailand, I visited the Rajaprabha Dam, an engineering marvel that holds precious water for rice cultivation in the otherwise arid northeast. The dam's reservoir ensures a steady water supply, supporting rice farming and contributing to food security in the region. The intricate network of canals and irrigation systems that branch out from the dam showcase the ingenuity of Thai farmers in managing water resources for optimal rice growth. I also traveled to the Thai-Burmese border to learn about hill rice. Unlike regular rice is grown on mountainsides. Farmers plant a variety of rice seeds to ensure biodiversity and resilience against pests and diseases. They practice crop rotation and intercropping to maintain soil fertility and ecological balance. After the harvest, farmers use the leftover rice straw for animal feed, and the rice husk for burning as fuel. Nothing goes to waste. Then it was on to the Mekong River in Vietnam, where I explored the remarkable floating markets, the vibrant atmosphere, bustling boat vendors, and the wide array of goods sold, including fresh fish, tropical fruits, and of course, rice paper and candy made from rice flour, showcased the dynamic spirit of Vietnamese commerce. I had to try these foods. Of course, in Hanoi, I wandered through the charming old quarter, visiting family-run noodle shops where traditional crafts like making rice paper and weaving mats from rice paper are still practiced. Each bite of a crispy spring roll filled with savory pork floss took me back centuries to when these snacks were first introduced. My journey continued to the awe-inspiring Trang An, a UNESCO World Heritage Site known for its emerald green waters and towering limestone formations. The serene beauty of this landscape and its significance in Vietnamese culture left me in awe. And finally, no trip to Vietnam would be complete without visiting the Siu Chi tunnels. These underground labyrinth of tunnels were an ingenious feat of engineering and resilience during the Vietnam War. The tunnels, which were used for shelter and military operations, showcased the determination and resourcefulness of the Vietnamese people. My food trip through Asia was an eye-opening experience. It showed me how rice is more than just a grain. It's a symbol of history, culture, resilience, and innovation. Whether it's the traditional farming methods, the colorful festivals, or the mouth-watering rice-based dishes, every aspect of rice tells a story. So next time you enjoy a plate of your favorite rice dish, take a moment to appreciate the rich history and cultural significance it holds. From the ancient civilizations of China and India to the colonial era and the rise of modern agriculture, the story of rice is intertwined with the very fabric of our world. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Food Trip. If you did, be sure to like and subscribe so you never miss an exciting episode. Until next time, happy travels and bon appetit.